There comes a moment when the air around you feels heavier, sharper, charged with something you can't name, but you feel it crawling under your skin like electricity. It's not luck knocking on your door, it's destiny standing there with a key in its hand, ready to open a vault you didn't even know was yours. And before that vault bursts wide, life starts sending you signals, strange, unshakable, almost unreal. They slip into your days like whispers in a crowded room, like coded messages you're meant to catch. You think it's coincidence. No, it's alignment. It's the ground shifting to carry you toward a win, so big it will feel like life just handed you the jackpot without a ticket. These signs come uninvited, but they're not random. They are the drumbeats before the parade, the thunder before the rain. And if you've started noticing them, it's because the universe is already positioning you, already moving pieces behind the curtain, already betting everything on you. You are about to cross a line you can't come back from, a line where the ordinary dies and the extraordinary takes its place. When life is about to hand you something so massive, so far beyond the scope of what you've been living, it doesn't just happen quietly. It begins to bend reality itself. The edges of your days start to blur, and the script you've been running for years begins to glitch in your favor. It's as if some invisible editor has taken your life's reel and started cutting out the resistance, the delays, the detours, and replacing them with perfect timing. You'll notice things falling into place without your hand forcing them. That email you were waiting for shows up the exact moment you need it. The call you didn't expect comes just when the thought crosses your mind. Doors that were locked for years suddenly open without you even knocking, and you stand there almost suspicious of how smooth it feels, wondering if it's real. But it is real, because you've shifted. It's not luck, it's not chance, it's a rewiring of the field you're walking in. Reality isn't a fixed thing, it bends to the signal you send out, and when you've aligned with something huge, when the jackpot of life is already yours in the unseen, reality starts moving the furniture around to match it. The obstacles that used to trip you vanish. The people who used to ignore you suddenly notice you. The situations that drained you simply dissolve. You feel like you're walking through the same streets, but somehow the air is different, lighter, charged with possibility. That's the glitch. That's the shift. You'll catch it in the small things first. You'll think of someone and they appear. You'll need money and it shows up from a place you never considered. You'll wonder about an opportunity and it lands right in your lap. These are not isolated miracles. They are a pattern that says reality has been tilted in your favor. It's like a chessboard where every piece you move is suddenly met with the perfect counter move from life itself, designed to get you to the win. You no longer have to push with desperate force. You just have to step and the ground meets your foot exactly where it needs to be. This glitching in your favor can feel eerie at first. The mind wants to analyze it, break it down, figure out why things are suddenly aligning, but this isn't about logic, it's about recognition. The moment you recognize it, you amplify it. The moment you say, yes, this is mine, you pull even more of it in. And when you resist it or dismiss it as luck, you slow it down. The wind is already moving toward you. Your only job is to walk in the direction it's coming from without doubting the road. You may also notice that problems that once seemed impossible to solve suddenly melt away. You'll wake up and realize the thing you were stressing about yesterday has somehow resolved overnight without you lifting a finger. This isn't coincidence. This is the new reality playing out. The reality where you are no longer fighting upstream, but being carried by the current of your own alignment. You start to feel like you've stepped into a different timeline, one where the universe is biased toward you, conspiring to put you in the right place at the right time again and again. And here's the thing, you don't have to understand the mechanics of it to benefit from it. You don't have to know how the gears turn in the unseen. You just have to trust the flow when it starts moving. Because at first you might want to cling to the old way, the way where you fought, hustled, and forced things into place. But this new pattern asks you to move different. It asks you to stop doubting the ease. It asks you to believe that just because it's smooth doesn't mean it's temporary or fragile. This ease is the signal that the game has already been won on a level you can't yet see, and now the results are dripping into your visible world. Piece by piece, you'll begin to realize that glitches in your favor are not mistakes. They're the proof that your inner shift has been registered, proof that life has received the command and is now delivering the result. And when you start noticing it, you also start expecting it, and when you expect it, it grows. Suddenly you're living in a feedback loop where alignment brings opportunities, opportunities bring confidence, and confidence brings even more alignment. The more you lean into this, the faster it builds. One day you'll look back at your old life and wonder how you ever thought it was normal to struggle so much. You'll see that the glitch wasn't just a lucky streak, it was the new foundation of your realities, and this is exactly what happens before life hands you the lottery win. Not just in money, but in love, health, joy, and everything you once thought was out of reach. The signs were always there, quietly preparing you, rewiring the stage for your entry. The glitch in your favor was never random. It was the announcement that the jackpot was already yours. When you notice this, don't play small. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't sabotage it with doubt. This is the moment you've been building toward. Step fully into it, because this is the signal, the green light, the moment where the current will carry you faster than you can imagine toward the win you've been waiting for. There comes a shift so deep within you that it refuses to be ignored. It's not loud, but it's relentless. It's not a fleeting burst of motivation. It's a constant hum, like an engine running somewhere inside your chest. You wake up with it, you go to bed with it, it follows you into conversations, into errands, into moments when you should be distracted but you're not. You feel an unshakable pull towards something bigger, even if you can't fully name it yet. It's not about chasing every shiny thing or being restless for no reason. It's the sensation that there's a place you are meant to arrive at, a destiny so precise it feels as though it has your name carved into it, and it's already waiting for you to catch up. This pull doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't check your schedule. It doesn't care about your current circumstances. It begins to change the way you move, the way you think, the way you respond to the world. It's not about forcing yourself into action. It's about being drawn into it like gravity. You start noticing that the things you once tolerated feel heavy, wrong, out of place. Certain habits you've held on to for years suddenly feel impossible to keep. Certain environments that once felt comfortable now feel too small, too quiet for the version of you that's trying to emerge. This isn't restlessness. This is the tug of your own expansion pulling you forward. You begin to act differently without even trying. You catch yourself speaking in ways you never used to, making decisions with a kind of certainty you didn't have before. People around you might not understand it. They might even think you've changed too fast, that you're chasing something unrealistic. But deep down you know it's not about chasing at all. It's about being pulled. It's about answering a call you didn't even know was being dialed until you felt it ringing through every part of you. This pull starts to rearrange your priorities. Things you thought mattered suddenly fade into the background. You're no longer willing to waste time on distractions that don't feed what's calling you. You're no longer satisfied with just getting by or staying the same. The thought of staying still feels like suffocating, not because you hate where you are, but because you know there's more, and that more isn't just an idea, it's a reality you've already tasted in your mind. At first, you might not even have a clear picture of what this bigger thing looks like. You might just feel the vibration of it, the weight of it, the inevitability of it, but that's enough, because that feeling starts to guide you like a compass. You'll notice how you instinctively avoid certain paths and take others, even when you don't know why. You'll find yourself reading the right words, meeting the right people, hearing the right messages at exactly the right time. It's like your whole life is being tuned to the frequency of what's ahead, even if the exact shape of it hasn't been revealed yet. And when you lean into that pull instead of resisting it, something incredible happens. You stop needing proof before you move. You stop waiting for guarantees. because the pull itself becomes the guarantee. You know that if something this strong is moving inside you, it's not there to tease you or leave you stranded. It's there because the thing you want is already real in the unseen. It's already yours in a way that's hard to explain, and the pull is simply the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to stand. This is why, when this pull takes over, fear starts to lose its grip. You might still feel it, but it can't paralyze you the way it used to. You're more willing to take the step, make the leap, risk the change. You start to realize that the risk of staying the same is far greater than the risk of moving forward. The idea of not answering this call feels heavier than any failure you could face along the way, and so you move, not recklessly, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are on their way to something monumental. It's not always comfortable. In fact, sometimes it's disruptive. The pull might make you walk away from things you thought you couldn't live without. It might make you shed relationships, identities, and versions of yourself that you've worn for years. It might make you feel like you're losing more than you're gaining in the moment. But what's really happening is clearing the space, clearing the energy, clearing the noise, so that when you arrive at the thing you've been pulled toward, there's nothing blocking your place in it. Others might not see the signs, but you do. You notice how coincidences stack up, how moments of clarity come more often, how the pieces of the puzzle are turning over faster than they ever have before. You feel a constant undercurrent of readiness, even if you can't explain why, and you start living in a way that assumes the thing you're being pulled toward is inevitable. That assumption alone changes everything. It changes the way you speak, the way you plan, the way you carry yourself. You walk into rooms differently. You handle challenges differently. You see setbacks differently, because you know they're not the end, just detours that will loop you back onto the path you're meant to be on. The pull towards something bigger is never random. It doesn't show up in everyone's life the same way, but when it does, it's always a sign that life is about to hand you a reward far beyond the usual. It's the quiet announcement that the jackpot has already been set aside for you. You don't have to scream for it, fight for it, or prove you deserve it. You only have to keep moving in the direction it's pulling you, and when you do, the moment will come when that pull turns into arrival, when the thing you've been feeling for so long finally stands in front of you in full color. That's when you'll realize it wasn't just a feeling, it was the future calling you home. There are moments when life begins speaking to you in ways that bypass the normal rules of communication. It doesn't shout, it doesn't explain itself. It slips messages into the cracks of your days, hidden in plain sight, disguised as random events, but so precise they cut right through you. A stranger says something in passing, and it feels like they read it straight from your soul. You hear a lyric in a song you've heard 100 times, but today it strikes like it was written for this exact second. You glance at a clock and see the same number repeating again and again, until it feels less like coincidence and more like a coded signal. At first you might brush it off. You might call it randomness, tell yourself you're overthinking, but the timing is too perfect. The words land too directly. The alignment is too sharp. It's as if something is leaving breadcrumbs, not in the form of logic or evidence, but in the form of synchronicities, moments stitched together so carefully that they guide you without force. You feel it in your chest when it happens, a subtle knowing, a quiet recognition that you've just been handed a clue. These messages aren't always gentle. Sometimes they hit like a strike of lightning, jolting you into awareness. A conversation overheard in a cafe that answers a question you've been wrestling with for weeks. A billboard you drive past that spells out the exact phrase you've been repeating in your mind. A friend telling you a story that mirrors your own situation so perfectly, you know it's not an accident. The world starts to feel alive, aware, interactive. And it is. The more you notice these messages, the more they seem to multiply. The key is presence. Most people miss these signs because they're moving too fast, too distracted, too convinced that only what they can see and measure is real. But when you slow down enough to catch the details, when you hold yourself open enough to notice, the pattern reveals itself. You start to see that nothing is random. Every message is a thread, and the more threads you follow, the clearer the picture becomes. Sometimes the message is encouragement, sometimes it's warning, sometimes it's a nudge to step forward when you're hesitating, or a confirmation that the choice you just made was the right one. It's not about superstition, it's about alignment. When you're close to a massive win, when the big shift is almost here, the invisible starts to bleed into the visible. Guidance that once moved in silence begins to take shape in your everyday world. You don't need to see the whole map. You just need to take the step the message points to, and it's not always in words or numbers. It can be a sudden meeting with someone whose presence alters the direction of your life. It can be a book that finds its way into your hands at the exact moment you need it. It can be the way certain topics keep appearing no matter where you turn. It's the repetition that makes it impossible to ignore. The same symbols, the same phrases, the same situations reappearing until you realize they're not chasing you by accident. You're being guided towards something specific. The more you accept that these signs are for you, the more powerful they become. Doubt slows the connection, belief strengthens it, and belief doesn't mean forcing yourself to hope. It means trusting what you feel when the sign lands. That tightening in your gut, that spark in your chest, that moment where the noise around you fades and you know you've just been handed something important, that is the compass. You don't have to understand the whole message right away. Sometimes it only makes sense when you've lived further into the path, but if you follow it, it will always lead you closer to the breakthrough. What's remarkable is how these encounters can bypass all your fears and excuses. You could be sitting in doubt, trying to convince yourself not to take action, and then the message shows up so undeniable you'd have to deliberately ignore it to stay still. And even if you do ignore it, it will come again, louder, clearer, closer, because once you're aligned with something massive, the guidance won't leave you alone until you've stepped into it. These messages are the scaffolding around your victory. They hold you steady when the path gets strained. They remind you that the win is already set, and you're simply walking toward it. And they keep you tuned to the exact frequency where opportunities find you faster than you can explain. You might notice people showing up in your life just when you need them, mentors, allies, even strangers who speak a sentence that shifts your thinking. You might find that the solutions to your problems appear in ways so precise it feels like a script. This is no accident. This is the field you're walking in, rearranging itself to deliver you to the jackpot. The danger is dismissing it, telling yourself it's all in your head, turning away from the breadcrumbs because they don't make sense yet. But if you wait until they make perfect sense, you'll miss their purpose. They're not here to give you certainty, they're here to give you direction, and once you move in that direction, the next piece always reveals itself. It's like walking through a fog where the ground only appears when you take the step. When you look back later, you'll see how perfect it all was. You'll see how the stranger's words were the first domino, how the repeated number was the confirmation, how the random encounter was actually a turning point, and you'll wonder how you could have ever thought it was coincidence. You'll understand that life wasn't being mysterious for the sake of mystery. It was speaking in the language of alignment, the language of the unseen, the language of winds that are too big to arrive all at once. So when the messages start showing up, when the lyrics speak directly to you, when the symbols repeat, when the conversations feel eerily tailored to your inner world, don't brush them aside. Listen, follow, trust. They are not random. They are the invisible hands turning you toward the moment when life hands you more than you ever thought you could hold. And when that moment comes, you'll realize the signs weren't just guiding you to the win, they were proof you already had it. When life is about to lift you into something extraordinary, it often begins with subtraction, not the kind you choose, but the kind that rips through without warning, clearing out pieces of your world you thought you couldn't live without. A job you believed was your foundation suddenly disappears. A relationship you clung to falls apart in a single conversation. A habit you thought was harmless becomes unbearable, and you can't force yourself to keep it. At first it feels like loss. It feels like being cut down to nothing. But underneath it's a clearing. It's life making space for something that can't fit in the world you've been living in. You don't always see it right away. In the moment, it can feel like the ground has been pulled from under you. You might fight to hold on to what's leaving, thinking that without it, you won't be able to move forward. But what's really happening is preparation. The very things you're losing are the ones that would weigh you down if you tried to carry them into the life that's waiting for you. The wind that's coming is too big to share space with what doesn't belong, and so it has to go, whether you give it up willingly or it's torn from your hands. This shedding is rarely comfortable. It can feel like everything is breaking at once. The friendships you thought were unshakable suddenly don't feel right. The routines that kept you steady now feel like chains. The places you used to feel at home in start to suffocate you. It's as if your entire life is whispering, not here, not like this, not anymore. And it's not chaos, it's precision. You are being stripped down to the core of what matters, because only from that place can you step into the next chapter with the strength and freedom it demands. There is a strange kind of silence that follows this loss. At first it feels empty. You keep reaching for the old patterns, the old people, the old ways, and find they're no longer there. But over time, that emptiness begins to feel different. It starts to feel like room for something new to take root. And that's when you begin to see the truth. What left wasn't punishment, it was permission. Permission for the life you've been asking for to finally have space to arrive. You might notice that as things fall away, other things quietly begin to appear. A new opportunity slips into the gap where the old one was. A new connection forms where a friendship ended. A habit that once consumed you gets replaced with a drive you didn't know you had. These replacements aren't accidents, they are upgrades, and they wouldn't have found their way to you if the old had stayed in place, blocking the path. There's a kind of trust you have to build here. The mind will want to label every loss as failure. It will tell you that you're moving backward, that things are falling apart, that you've made a mistake. But if you look closer, you'll see the pattern. What's leaving isn't random, it's the exact set of weights that would keep you from flying when it's time to rise. You can't climb to the next level holding on to anchors, no matter how familiar they feel. Sometimes the losses are sudden, other times they're slow. A friendship drifts. A career path becomes uninteresting. A part of you that you've identified with for years no longer fits the way you see yourself. It's a quiet unraveling, one thread at a time, until you realize you're standing in a completely different fabric of life. And while it may feel uncertain in the middle of it, there comes a moment when you see why it had to happen exactly this way. In these moments of loss, something else grows, your capacity to receive. Without the noise, without the clutter, without the constant drain of what no longer serves you, you have space to hold more. More energy, more opportunities, more joy. The lottery win that's coming isn't just about one big moment of success, it's about building a life that can sustain it. And to sustain it, you need room, you need freedom, you need a foundation that isn't cracked by the weight of the past. This clearing also forces you into a deeper connection with yourself. When the distractions are gone, you're left face to face with your own truth. You begin to ask different questions. What do I really want now? Who am I without that job, that person, that identity? And as the answers come, you find they are sharper, clearer, and more aligned than anything you've known before. This is the gold hidden in the lot. You become unshakable because you've learned that you are not defined by what leaves, you're defined by what you choose to walk toward next. And when the win comes, and it will, you'll realize that it could never have arrived in the life you had before. The version of you who held on to the old wouldn't have been able to carry it, protect it, or even recognize it. You had to be changed first. You had to be made lighter. You had to be emptied so you could be filled in a way you'd never experienced. So when life starts removing things you thought you couldn't live without, don't fight to drag them back, let them go. Trust that the space they leave behind isn't a wound, it's an open door. The path to your breakthrough is rarely about piling more on. Most of the time it's about removing what blocks the view, what clogs the flow, what stands in the way of the life that's already trying to reach you. This is not destruction, this is construction in disguise, and the sooner you allow the clearing, the sooner the new can arrive. Because the truth is, life doesn't take without giving back something greater. It doesn't leave you in a vacuum unless something is already on its way to fill it. What feels like loss is often the first sign you're about to gain more than you ever imagined. One day you'll look back at what you lost and realize it wasn't the foundation of your life. It was the roof over your head in a house that was too small for you, and the day you let it fall was the day the sky opened above you. Right before life delivers something so massive, it shatters your old limits. Your emotions begin to surge in ways you can't ignore. It's not subtle, it's not polite, it's a storm rolling through you, lifting you higher and dropping you lower than you've felt in years. The highs feel like you're standing on top of the world, and the lows feel like you're being pulled into the earth itself. It's raw, it's intense, it's unnerving, and it's the surest sign that something huge is pressing against the walls of your reality, ready to break through. This emotional intensity isn't random, it's a reaction to the shift happening beneath the surface of your life. You are on the verge of a new frequency, and the process of stepping into it shakes everything inside you. Old fears rise up not because they're growing stronger, but because they're trying to make one last appearance before they dissolve. Buried desires come rushing to the surface because they know their time is here. You find yourself feeling everything more sharply, as though the volume on your inner world has been turned all the way up. It can be disorienting. One moment you're filled with a deep sense of certainty, and knowing that you're about to step into something extraordinary. The next, you're restless, doubting, wondering if you've made it all up. These emotional swings are not proof that you're failing. They're proof that you're in the transition. You're in the stretch between the life you've known and the one that's about to claim you. That stretch is emotional because it's pulling on every part of you, your beliefs, your habits, your expectations, your sense of self. The tension is necessary. Think about it. Every great leap in life comes with a build-up. Before the arrow flies, it's pulled back. Before the wave crashes, it swells. Your emotions are swelling right now because the energy that's been gathering inside you is almost ready to release. The pressure you feel is the same force that's going to propel you into the win you've been waiting for. Without that pressure, without that intensity, you wouldn't have the momentum to break into the new level. You might notice that your reactions to things are different. The little annoyances that you used to brush off suddenly feel unbearable. That's because you're outgrowing them. The moments of joy feel more alive, more electric, because you're tasting the frequency of the life that's coming. You're not just feeling more, you're feeling deeper, sharper, clearer. Every emotion is a message. The irritation is telling you where you no longer belong. The excitement is telling you what's aligned. The restlessness is telling you that your old comfort zone is too small for what's next. Instead of resisting these emotions, you have to ride them. They're not here to destroy you, they're here to shape you. They're sharpening your awareness, burning away what no longer fits, and waking you up to what's possible. The intensity is not a setback, it's acceleration. It's preparing you to step into a life where your capacity to feel, to choose, and to live fully is greater than ever before. And here's what's important. This emotional surge often comes right before the breakthrough, not after. It's easy to assume that when you're about to win, you'll feel nothing but peace and confidence. But the truth is, right before the win, you often feel the opposite. You feel stretched, challenged, tested. The old life pulls at you to stay, and the new one calls for you to leap. That tug of war creates emotional extremes, and those extremes are the last sign that you're on the brink. If you pay attention, you'll see that the more you allow yourself to fully feel without running from it, the faster the shift comes. Emotions are energy in motion. When you let them move through you, they carry you forward. When you resist them, they get stuck, and the transition slows. The highs and lows are not here to break you. They're here to push you past the point where you could ever go back to the way things were. You may even notice moments of strange calm in the middle of all this. It's like the eye of the storm, a stillness that feels out of place but deeply reassuring. That calm is a preview of what's on the other side. It's the feeling of alignment, the quiet power of knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be. When that calm shows up, hold on to it. Let it remind you that no matter how intense the waves get, the destination is already locked in. This emotional intensity also rewires your relationship with yourself. You start seeing that you can handle more than you realize that you don't have to be unshaken to be strong, you just have to keep moving. You learn to trust your inner signals more than outside opinions. You stop seeing your emotions as weaknesses and start seeing them as guidance systems. Every surge, every dip, every pulse of energy is steering you toward the win. By the time you cross into the new reality, you'll see why it had to feel like this. The emotions weren't random, they were the proof that the old you was breaking apart, making room for the new. They were the birth pains of a life you've been waiting to live. And when you're standing in that life holding the lottery ticket that was always meant for you, you'll understand that the storm wasn't a warning, it was the celebration before the arrival. So if your emotions feel louder right now, if you feel stretched to your limit, don't mistake it for chaos. It's the build-up. It's the surge before the breakthrough. It's the proof that something extraordinary is pressing against your reality, ready to flood in. Let it move through you, let it shape you. Because the moment you step through, you'll realize the intensity was never here to break you. It was here to prepare you for more than you ever imagined. And so it all begins to make sense. The glitches in your favor, the pull towards something bigger, the messages disguised as coincidences, the losses that stripped you bare, the emotions that surged like a tide you couldn't control, they were never random. They were the architecture of your transformation, the sequence of steps designed to prepare you for the moment you've been asking for, maybe even begging for in silence. Every sign, every shift, every disruption was part of a single movement, the movement of life, clearing the path, tuning your frequency, and pulling you into alignment with a win so profound it will make the old you unrecognizable. When you look back, you'll see how nothing was wasted. Not a single strange encounter, not a single sleepless night, not a single loss that felt like the end of the world. They were all threads in the same fabric, weaving together the moment where the lottery win isn't just a prize, it's proof. Proof that you were guided, proof that you were chosen for something extraordinary. And when it arrives, it won't feel like a surprise, it will feel like recognition. You'll stand in it with the quiet power of someone who knows they've been walking toward this all along. You'll realize you didn't stumble into it, you answered the signs, you followed the pull, you endured the clearing, you rode the emotions, and you let the path shape you into the one who could hold it. This is how life works when it's about to give you everything. First it changes you, then it changes your world. And when those changes meet, the door opens. And when the door opens, you don't tiptoe through it. You step in like it was always yours, because it was.